I think we're ready to go. Gonna check the sound level. I think we're good. Yeah, I meant to stream a little earlier in the week, but didn't get a chance to, unfortunately. Let's see if the volume's a little bit better at 65. I think I was clipping a little bit at 70. So anyway, yeah, we got to this part where we just want to finish off some of these screens. And I believe I might have checked the wrong branch out to do our work. So let's just see where we're at. And so, yeah, we're looking at the state change node for the success. And the success is actually going off of something else, I believe. So we're just looking for the redirect off of this right now. I'm not sure if we want the failure here. So the UI is kind of a little bit different when you're dealing with by the slice, because you're always trying to attach one of these slices to either a green box or a blue box, and these are your state changes or your state views. When we look at you know, a successful registration, which was over here, you know, we'll come to open spaces. Where's our registration here? Yeah, so that's what we do here. We register, it succeeds, and say thank you for registering. So this really is part of the work that should actually go into this registrations piece. So it's a registration state view. So we're actually in the wrong one for the congratulations thing. So I'm just gonna stash this and see if I can pop that out into the other branch. I think that's what it is. But anyway, if I make a mistake, that's all right. So we have this okay, these changes. So we do git diff. We can see what we changed. We're basically adding the success registration here. That's actually a lot of work here, because we are yeah, this is actually incorrect because we're grabbing events directly. This should be using a state view. Instead. And what else do we have? Yeah, so this is actually not the best implementation. So and then we also have this register success view here. So I'm going to basically push this back to the state view. So let's just git stash this. And then git checkout. We want to go to the registered state view instead. And in here, we want to just pop that out because we want the we gotta make sure that that path is merged, but actually we're just gonna delete that part. I know why it's complaining, but we really don't like that implementation anyway. So we can take a look at what the merge is. And so not yet named. Here we have all of this. And do we have any more? No, I think that's it. So, oh, that's interesting. So, yeah, registered event, that is correct. Stash changes incoming. Oh, I kind of don't want any of these actually. Or do I? It says this get events, which is bad. We really want, okay, so I think we were in the middle of replacing this implementation with all of this. And here we have, Yeah, so we're just going to take the incoming change and fix these other things later. So yeah, get register ID. Yeah, okay, good. So that's that. I'm not sure if this is correct. Oh, this is just register the. Did we zap too much? I'm wondering. I think we had some logic in here. But anyway, we can always just double check with the event model to see if what we're doing is correct. Right now, let's just get this this thing working here. So let's see what the difference is. Actually, I could always just see what's going on. So it did lose this logic of response not named yet. I'm not sure if our conference name state view gives the same type of thing in here. Let's take a look. Yes, because it just gives the conference name and the conference ID. But I think we had some logic here for not finding it. So, oh, what do we do? This one here. I'm wondering if we push that into the view, that logic. But anyway, yeah, so the conference name will be probably not named yet. I don't think we're this thing here. I'm wondering if we can push the entire kind of conference name with the not found thing into the view so that this actually makes that decision. But here what we did is we kind of doesn't belong here, does it? The post. Seems like this is logic that's supposed to be in the state change. Yeah, this is a post making a command. Yeah, this doesn't belong here. I'm not sure why we had it here, but let's undo this. So we have that modification. Kind of lost that one change here. Well, we didn't really lose it. We haven't committed this, so we haven't lost that change yet. But I think what we need to realize that we're working on something else. We're actually not working on this. We're actually still committing this registration here because we still have code that does this. Unless we pulled that in from something else. But I thought we had this done. So this is done. I'm not sure why we're doing that. We could revert our change and just start over. These implementations are pretty easy. So let's work through this. This is really the registrations page. State view. So are we actually on that right now? Yeah, we're on the registration state view. We don't want, we really don't want this post. That does not belong here. So let's just manually edit this. And we'll hand fix all of these things. So so we did a stash pop here. So unmerged pass, that's fine. And that's okay too. We have that register success, which is supposed to show that. Although, interesting, we're trying to really reuse the name, which I don't think is a good idea. I think we should have our own registration success state view. So my problem with this is, well, one of the problems that I have here is, where do we have this state change? Okay, first of all, this is doing too much. That's not good. Where's the other part? I had a problem with some of these state views not actually, I don't want to reuse them, is what I'm saying. I don't want to reuse some of these. So register state. Yeah, this is correct. This is changing things. Now this is the register get. Okay, so this is the, yeah. The registration success and registration failure is kind of like what we need to do. Although we just send an error instead. We don't have a registration failure page, which is okay. We can treat failures as just errors, and just have the success page. But again, yeah, registration not found. If someone's going to the success with an ID of a registration that's not really there, yeah. So this, okay. So we're fine with this. Just look at the code and improve it, because we don't want to not have this state view. So again, let's make this a little bit smaller here. So what we want to do is make sure that we have registrations as a state view, because currently when we looked at it, we had the events getting directly without a function. Again, the reason we want that is if you want to do, if you want to have unit tests for it, you should have something with that same signature. So we want to keep the code the same. And while, yes, I could just put code into the URL handler, I do want to have these pieces as something I can identify that have the same type of signature, etc., as all these others. And in this case, this model that gets returned, should give me all of these things. So yeah, I think that's where we left off, and we're just starting on that's the problem. Is I left off, I think on Saturday or something, I don't know, or even longer ago. Might have been before, might have been a week since I streamed last. So let's get going then. Let's take a look at what we have here. Registration success shouldn't have this get events stuff. We should have the registration ID that we get through here, yes, and that should be a lookup for our state view. So we would have our registration and I think we're going to have to close up all of this and oh, look at that. We have the state change here. Should really organize this. Okay, because this interesting. Look at this. Wondering where this stuff comes from. Okay, we'll clean it up. So yeah, so in this case, we we want that to be a new function. And then, yeah, we reduce that across events, registered events. I think we want to reset on conference ID. Yeah, we want to basically switch to the point where we are not keeping track of previous registrations. We don't care about closed events. That's something that's being checked for on the post. So we have, yeah, so we have the current conference ID. The registered event would not only have that, but it would be a tuple between the name and the registration ID. So it wouldn't be names, because we're not doing that, but registrations. And here we would have registrations. And here we would have the name and the current conference ID. Well, name registration. So let's get rid of that for a second and think about what we have here. So if we have a registration event, we have the name, we have the event registration ID. I believe we have that in the registered event. And as I'm not sure if we are, I guess we don't have to. We have one conference going on at once, so we don't need to track the conference IDs in these. So the default is going to be registrations with a new set, but it also is going to have the conference ID. And then it's going to also have the conference name. So that's kind of how it starts every time you do one of these, right? So if a conference is generated, we also have the conference ID and the conference. Yeah, and then conference. And so what you would usually do is just copy this from your previous event handlers to make sure you set up the world the way, like if it's equal to the way that other slice is looking at it, then that's what you would have. Actually, we don't have the conference name in here. We only have that starts as a null. Of course, then we have case conference or set name. Is it set name? Or conference named. What is it? Conference named. And here we're going to have name equal to event dot name break. I think that's the gist of it. What else do we care about on this thing? So when they get the congratulations screen, they have the welcome to whatever, they have their name, they have, well, we're finding things by their registration IDs, which is fine. Why is that suggesting that? Okay, so yeah, so then we have this. We don't need to get events. We just have the state view. We don't need that. And then here we have on registration. We can pull out the registration record from there. Equals registration. Oh, state view. And yeah, this should be get by registration ID, because that's a set. And that'd be registrations by registration ID. Is this the other way around? Something like that. And then so if not registration event or registration, yeah, so if it doesn't find it, no registration found. Here we just do the registration that we found, the name. See, we were pulling, this is the problem. We're reusing a state view, which is something we said we wouldn't do. So we do not use this conference name state view. That is something that's done in another slice. And if I use that, then I'd be coupled to whoever made that screen for naming this, right? So we want to create our own little world. That's why, you know, handling this ourselves is what we want. If someone is changing how they work with the conference named event and how that state view is altered, I don't want to be impacted by that. So that's how that works. And I'm missing the chats here. Let me see if people are asking anything important. So what do we have here? Here's our chat. I put the chat over. There it is. Okay, yeah, so we have a question. Oh, Mohammed is back. Oh, yeah, good to see you. Sorry I missed your chat. I was just, I had to reboot for, I forget what reason. Something wasn't playing nice with, for the podcast recording, so I was thinking I needed to just update the machine or something or restart. But really it was just something to do with, the restream, sorry, the, Riverside FM, site. So I had some issues with it, and as you know, as you start to second guess yourself, you're like, oh, it must be something with my machine, why the microphone or camera can't be accessed, and something with their site. But regardless, I had to reset everything, so my OBS and the windows that were in here were all over the place. I had to just put them back in, get the chat going again, and so that's what happened. As a result, my little chat display here was not showing me that someone was asking a question. So my apologies to you, Mohammed, that it's been like a little bit here to get your question answered. Yeah, like you asked it like 20 minutes ago. So my apologies. Let me read it and see what I can tell you about what we're doing. Question, I might have tried using event modeling with one of my projects. Do we start with the events and imagine what the UI could look like? Because I found myself UI driven instead of event driven. Yeah, that's a totally a valid way to do it. And we always have different ways for different people to jump into event modeling. It doesn't have to be with events. And I think that's one of the big differences between event storming and event modeling. Event modeling is a lot more permissive to allow people to start with the UI. There's a lot of criticism of this. Of course, that's a decision I made to allow both ways of working. I think a lot of people say that when they allow UI concepts to be, part of this brainstorming thing, that people get locked down to a specific idea too fast, and so you don't do this exploratory brainstorming part really well. It really depends on what type of project you're doing. That may be a valid argument for maybe when you want to prevent some people from bringing in some biased opinions because they already used some sort of other software, maybe the legacy software you're trying to replace. You really want people to not get influenced by the old screens. However, the flip side's also there, where brand new projects are really UX driven and people really want to understand what people will be looking at, the feeling they get when they look at the screens, and that's totally valid too. So event modeling allows for both approaches. So what you're doing is correct. Like if you have a really good idea of like, hey, my users should see these screens, and that's why a lot of times event modeling is very friendly to people that have already used Figma and have used maybe Balsamiq or something else to do screen mockups to kind of get their workflow laid out. But what event modeling does is kind of a second step to make sure that what you're imagining is actually doable with connecting all the data points along the way, so you can answer the technical kind of implementation details for developers. Because the problem is when you send Figma or Balsamiq mockups to developers, you really haven't given scope of the underlying complexities of how much data you're moving, how much data manipulation you're doing. And so event modeling kind of does that responsibility bit of kind of following the information flow and understanding how many steps both behind the scenes and in the UI are actually going to happen to do that. And then from there you can actually attain some idea of the complexity, how many steps are happening. So we kind of pushed an artificial one in this example, but there will definitely be proper projects that have multiple steps behind the scenes. And so on the event model you'll have a screen and then a whole bunch of gears doing a whole bunch of things behind the scenes that no user is actually seeing, and then finally another screen of like the result. If you just did Balsamiq or Figma, you would see those screens right next to one another, and you would really hide the fact that you have a lot of this processing going on, and you say, well, that belongs in UML or something else. We actually want people to understand the complexity of what they're asking for. So that's about it. Yeah, a lot of people do have this unnatural separation, like you say, Mohammed, here, that you separate the UI from like the back-end logic, and really that's not the best approach. I think people have to understand that as you move through the system, some of it will be front-facing where the end users see it, but some of it will be behind the scenes. But both are very important, and so that's where event modeling shows both the automated processing that you have and also the manual clicking of screens or whatever you have. And I think they both need to live side by side so you understand where you pass control from one side to the next and then return it again. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So the other question is, I struggle to find the boundary of a useful feature that can be pushed in a day, and what about temporal coupling requiring some features to be developed before others? Right, so this is why we have the fake events. So yeah, that's a very common thing. You don't want to have to develop something from left and right. And I think, Mohammed, when you joined watching these streams, I started to work in a chronological order on the event model, right? Now, let me just bring that up again. Implementing these things from left to right just to be complete. But when I did the streams earlier, I kind of jumped in without some of these earlier steps being completed, and went into, you know, doing this middle piece here. And what you can do is make fake events. So if you already have the event model, but none of these things are implemented, you can basically set up the backend to already have these events in the history, so that all of these things that, you know, let's say you're working in these things right here, in these steps here, then in order for some of these pieces to work, they may require some of these previous events, like down here and down here, to already exist. And it's fine to make fake ones, right? Because you already have the schema of them, and you can say, let's pretend they already happened. And then with the URL, you can jump into exactly where you want, and you can show, you know, this area working where, you know, no one really had made any of these screens or these pieces of logic yet. You assume they're there, and you kind of make fake events. And this is where I made, you know, this fake event directory here, so that, you know, if you're working on the registration piece, you can at least have the conference name defined. And you know, some of these other things for dates, and sometimes you put the events in there to kind of have some things already exercised, like adding rooms, etc. So for example, this rooms manipulation here, this screen here, I really don't need any of these other things like the dates, etc. But what I may need is maybe some example data, so that when I try to debug this, I can copy these events into my event stream, the live directory here. And so when I get this URL, I can already see some data, and I can play around with it. So yeah, I hope that kind of helps explain how you can start in the middle and not have to worry about these previous pieces being already implemented. You can fake that they're already there. And that's one of the most powerful things about the event modeling approach and event sourcing, is that you have a very simple way, without having to deal with databases and backing them up and restoring. You can simply just even point at multiple different directories and copy the events that you want. So it's very easy to manipulate the state that you want to exercise. So, you know, to answer your question, that whole thing about needing the previous steps to have been done, the events are perfect for that. Like, you just say, okay, imagine those things were already running, what would the evidence of those things being done be on disk? And you simply look at the yellow events along the way as an example. You can even pull out even more different ones from these given when-thens, right? It'll give you a whole lot of ideas of what you can put in there to make sure that some piece that you're working on here works as expected. And so I do that a lot of times. Like, if you know, this case, we're just trying to finish the project, so I'm just going bluntly from left to right, following the timeline. But in real projects, you're going to have areas that are of more interest and more value to the business, and you definitely want to start working there. And so, you know, do I really need to have the sign up thing done properly? No, I kind of know that I've modeled it, and I can say that I'm going to maybe use some of those events to make sure that I can get the important work done. And so that's a healthy way of doing that. Even when some of these things aren't fully specified, at least doing the important work will allow you to see what data you need, and then when you specify them, you can make sure the schemas match and that your screens are going to capture what you need. So yeah. But yeah, a lot of traditional ways of approaching this is kind of it's a little bit different. You know, doing event modeling and event sourcing is dropping some of the best practices to even have better practices, right? So the best practices out there are the best practices for the average way of making applications. If you're making applications that don't lose data, so you have this additive only way of storing state, and that you're using multiple models like I showed you just now, there's best practices that fit this type of development. And they're sometimes at odds with the best practices you learn, like the don't repeat yourself practice. I was just showing that with this, implementation where I'm on purpose not using a state view that shows me the conference name. I'm on purpose using my own conference name in here. I could easily just call us the other function called, current conference name, but then I'm binding that functionality. Those two separate pieces of workflow now are coupled to that one function. And so if someone is going to change that step, they're going to have to coordinate with me, and that's overhead. Every time I have to coordinate, it's an overhead. So I'd rather have, at least in principle, a copy paste of what was done earlier, but it freezes that implementation here, so it's not going to change underneath my feet, right? So yeah, but Mohammed, so I hope I answered your question. But yeah, the fakes are super fun and easy way to kind of show how things work, and more importantly, the fakes can also be yeah, exactly. So yeah, the dry is a potential for generating coupling points. Exactly. So you don't want to tie developers at their legs to make a three-legged race. You want to have autonomy, that the collaboration actually happens on the event model. So they're talking and designing on the event model, and the handoffs of information is really in the event stream. That's where you kind of have a single place for coupling to be handled, and it's a lot easier there than to just have a ad hoc way of referencing someone else's table that they made and all sorts of things that we run into problems. And no amount of testing or these other practices is going to rescue you from just the excessive amount of different ad hoc coupling that you get in a traditional way. So the nice thing about event sourcing is that we say, hey, everything's just a file on there, and we can only add files. Look in there. Easier to just copy that implementation. So I am on purpose, copying this implementation of this conference name. If I have a new conference ID generated, obviously I reset the conference name, so it doesn't do that. And I could even say conference not named yet. I can get some of that logic in there if I want, or I can just say, I can say conference not named yet. I mean, might as well, right? And I can put some extra, something like that. I mean, that'll jump out pretty quickly to someone. I guess someone that wants, an organizer that wants to make a name exactly that, not named yet, they can kind of break the system, but we, again, trust them that they're not going to name it to this. But you can definitely go hog wild on this and make it, do a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, we have that. We could make a set of tests for this to make sure that it acts the way we want, or we can just plow through with fake events. I'm not sure if we have them for this yet, so I don't think we have register, state view, conference named. Yeah, conference name set. So I think we have, I think that's the one we're using. So we actually did have one for that. So we can probably make sure we're using the same thing. And then that's the other thing, is that this fake can actually give us a, right, it has the name. It doesn't have a conference name, it just has the name. That's the other thing that we don't have, obviously just name. So that's, oh, sorry, conference, I had it right. Conference name, this is the one that's named. Okay, good. So that's correct. All right. So let's try and run this and see where we fail. We can do, I want to kind of clean up my event stream. It's got a whole bunch of stuff in there, which we don't want. So we'll just remove remove -rf. And I guess we'll put the Oops. Right? Yeah, there we go. So then fake events, and we want the SV register, state v register events in there. So now we should have just a very small stream with just that. And if we run the application, it runs it all. Nope, we have an issue. Oh yeah, we have a bunch of syntax errors because we're not really finished any of this. I think we don't have this. Yeah, what is this thing? Registered state null. What is this from? Maybe that was, yeah. Oh, that was our command handler. We don't need that anymore. Why do we clobber that? So we have the state view. Register post. That's the command. Yeah. State change is a state view. Okay. Okay, so that's okay. So this is state change. That's correct. So where is our syntax? Down here. Why is that giving me an error? So that's this here. And we are, oh, we got a bracket here? Why is there a bracket here? Who wanted to add a bracket here? And then why do we have, so this looks like, okay, maybe there's some merge problems here because this looks like code from our post handler. Yeah, I think this is our state change post. Register success, registration ID. Maybe we're rewriting it and we just left this thing down here. Because we have this register state change, yeah, and we just return that. So this code obviously doesn't belong here. Because yeah, at the end of our command handler, we're just returning an event or throwing errors. And so yeah, this is obviously code that belongs in our post because that is acting on what we get back from here. But I think we rewrote it. This looks like it's doing, let's just compare it side by side. So yeah, register success is that's what we're doing. Here we're catching these things and then we do this. Let's control Z. Okay, yeah, so that's what we're doing currently. Make some extra space and see what. So if this this looks like it's from oh, this is from the previous one. This is from our opening up the registration to the conference. I believe. Yeah, register. I don't like join conference, right? This is the thing that we have. So why is this? Still don't understand why we have and I'm not sure where this is coming from. Is it here? Join conference with this. Okay, so this is where we need to get the name. That only gets the conference ID. That's a test, the previous stuff. Okay, so we have this mystery stuff of where would we want this? And 404 would be not found, so why are we rendering the register? 404. Oh, I think this is the old implementation. I think we... Couldn't do that, and then we couldn't do that. Like I said, I know that this stair step thing is good. Let's just get rid of this and implement something later when we find where this is supposed to go. So that's gonna fix our bug, and we can just run things now. So if we have our conference name done, what else do we need to make this work? We have this registration state view. We want the success. Okay, so if we're doing registration success, we would want to have so just double checking if our stream is still going correctly. Yeah, seems to be okay. All right. So yeah, let's see. Registration success would to test this, I could add another fake event here. So let's do that. Add a fake event for registration. Conference name. Okay. So okay. Improve the fake events for SV register. So I can go successful good. I'm not sure if it's gonna figure that out. But let's see. Yeah, it needs a conference ID. Okay, good. So that should be okay. So I can see floating over that it's fake events SV conference ID generated, doing all of that. So we can apply that. We should get rid of the old one here. And apply this one. That's correct. That's correct. And then apply this one. Correct. Okay, so now that we have these fake ones, I can rerun our remove and put in these fake ones here, so that now we'll have our registration, and now we can in our application and register success, we can see, and of course it went to the wrong thing because it matters which which browser I had last in focus. That's where it'll launch. So that'll be this one now. And yeah, we had an issue here. Where do we have? Registration SV, registration get is not a function. Okay, so we have some issues there already, which is good. Change, where do we have our, oops, tests? Register state change, state view. Right, so what do we have? As our error here, we had root dispatch. Registration SV, registrations get. Oh, yeah, this thing. Okay, so what we return here, oh, did we not return this? No, we did. We returned the reduction of this, which will have conference ID, conference name, registrations. So this is what that is. And then registrations is this new set. And yeah, so why is it not? Okay, and that's get events. Okay, maybe that's good. So we rerun that. Now that's not going to get the right ID. Not going to find it, right? So we're going to have get is not a function. Oh. That's the UI. Trying to make it like a map. Let's fix. Oh yeah, we need a map. That's what the problem is. Yes, new map. Thank you. That's what we wanted. Okay. Add is not a function. Okay, so that's the map has set right there. New map. That's state change. No. We don't want that. That's a different. That is a different function. This is a set. That is a different function. This is a map, just belongs to state view. That's all. So let's see. Mohammed saying some more stuff. What do we have here? So events are integration points. Do you have a preference for how to organize your code base? I see recommendations for several vertical slices, monolith, each with a different granularity. Can we get vertical slices and refactor modules later? Yeah, I mean, so how many swim lanes of events are you going to have? So the swim lanes in here. So let's say this is getting, as a much larger solution. I might want to have not just one system, but a set of subsystems. So I'll start to make separate swim lanes for these yellow boxes, and it'll basically track the state of separate services. And then you're going to have these types of gears passing things off. Yeah, so first of all, this is a project that's meant to show event sourcing itself. So it's not organizing anything further than just, the bare minimum to get going with event sourcing. But yeah, generally with a large solution, you may have, other actual APIs that are running as their own things in a Docker container, etc. And we can basically evolve this to do that. We'll see that it doesn't really change the code that we have in, for example, one of these state views. Right? So we're going to have a lot of this stuff working exactly the same way. We may add one more layer of optimization where we can pass in, like, it's basically memoization and caching, because every time I get, you know, the entire history, that's going to be problematic in terms of how much data we need to pass back and forth. So you might want to cache some of that and only use the newest events. And so, you know, but the core logic is still going to be this. You're just going to have some more wrapping around this to pass that. So, I see KDE bows. Okay, whatever bows is, I don't know. But welcome to the stream. We'll check that I can read all the comments. Yeah, I like KDE. KDE is nice. Using Kubuntu, so it's really using the Ubuntu stuff underneath. But yeah, it's really cool. I enjoy it a lot. So anyway, yeah, let's double check that we're got our registrations add is not a function. So where do we have that? That's in our state view here. So we have set, right? So that should fix that. Run it again. Make sure that we get what we, again, sorry. Registration not found. At least it's going into that. And I have to go back to here. That. So this is our last one here. So let's do that. And yeah, we have registration not found. Perfect. So if we have the proper ID now from our fake events, be registered, right? So we have that here. So our registration is this thing. I go back here and then do that. And there we have it, right? So event modeling spaces, our fake event has that, our conference name, right? Name open spaces. And then let's just do for 2025, 01 and 22, right? So let's just add that to the name. Again, you're never going to be changing the contents of probably lots of bots that are making conversations on that. So if you can jump onto, if whoever's listening and gets annoyed by the bots distracting me, jump onto Twitch and then report. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt the stream to like block them. And yeah, it brings to attention that yeah, we're using KDE, which is good. I like using KDE. So it was a good bot. It wasn't spamming me with stuff. Yeah, so you shouldn't be editing these. Obviously, that's not how you do it. But in testing environments, sure, go ahead and do that. The reason I wanted to change that is so that I could just refresh this page, and it should refresh, please. Why is it getting this? It should be rereading this. Did I not? Oh, because I changed them only in the fake events. This is the source. So yeah, I shouldn't actually change them here. Get rid of that here. But if I change it here, now, yeah, that's supposed to be like that. The conference, yeah, this is, we're testing. Actually, that's kind of bad. I don't want the AI to pick up garbage like this. So open spaces 501. Just so we have today's date that I'm dealing with data that I set today. Let's take a look here. Let's refresh that. So yeah, there we go. So now you understand that, you know, this function's iterating over these and doing the reduce, and it says thank you, and now continue. And we get to sessions. Okay, which is, I forget what that was, but anyway, yeah. Sargath666, should I use event modeling instead of event storming, or should I treat it as an enhancement of event storming? I guess you could treat it as whatever you want. I mean, we don't really use event storming in terms of the way Alberto has laid it out. It's up to you. I mean, we have a number of people that want to use event modeling after they do event storming. Some of the people that we've talked to, they don't find as easy of a time to move to implementation from an event storming, which is a little bit more freeform. An event model really has a space for all the implementations, right? Once you get going and do a few of these, you then know that, you know, this is a green box and how it works is here. And you know that the default view for it is here, like the default state of it. And you know that you can make tests to show, you know, what the default view will be. And as you get more and more events, you can show how it changes. So event modeling is, I think, well, at least for us, a much more clear way to proceed from idea and specification to implementation and then maintenance and so on. I think one of the initial ways that event storming was talked about is that it was, at the very beginning anyway, from how I understand it, event storming was a single day event where it was really to facilitate communication between different people. And then after you've done your event storming session, you would throw away all of this. Like, you wouldn't keep any of this around. Like, people would just use it as a daily activity. So I think with those roots, I think the other two stages of event storming that got added on later were kind of like a backpedaling to kind of fill in kind of something like what event modeling is. But event modeling was always, it has more roots in event sourcing than domain-driven design. Whereas event storming has more roots in domain-driven design than event sourcing. And one of those signs of that was when I was at the Event Storming Summit in 2018, no one really wanted to talk about event sourcing or CQRS or this kind of event-driven type of architecture or implementation. Those topics were really kind of not voted on, or they were downvoted when the group was kind of asked. And this was kind of a hodgepodge of people that were in the mostly domain-driven design community, and that's probably why there wasn't very many people there from the event sourcing community. I think I was one of the few that were kind of doing everything in event sourcing. So that's kind of my take on it. I mean, I'm not sure how true it is. That's my perspective on it. But we've been using event modeling for many years now. It wasn't really called event modeling. We didn't have a name for what we were doing. We thought we were doing a form of event storming and borrowing a lot from behavior-driven development, the specification by example, making these extra test cases here to show how some of those details kind of evolve, and have this as a way to show, you know, more detailed specifications. We're all done here. So yeah, like this is one of the best ones. Like state views, these green boxes show a lot. Oh yeah, so You can totally use this. I mean, event modeling has no opinion of what you want to use it with. You can even use it with a traditional approach where these green and blue boxes are queries to the database. You're going to have a lot more coupling, like, you know, these swim lanes you can use then to show, you know, two different workflows trying to access the same, you know, two different steps using the same record or something like that, or even the same column in a table. So it's really kind of allowing you to really understand the information flow for anything. But in an event source system, it's a little bit easier because these things are highly decoupled, as we kind of showed in the implementation already. But yeah, domain-driven design concepts kind of exist. So if I wanted to do bounded contexts, I could have, you know, one row here where we have, you know, all of our events happening in the system. And we have one bounded context here. This whole row of events is really coming from one bounded context in domain-driven design terms. I could make a second row where I could have another bounded context. I could also have swim lanes that organize, you know, some things for an aggregate. If you're talking about these, you know, the actual implementation guidance from DDD about aggregates and aggregate roots, I can definitely have some row that's dedicated to a particular type. So we generally show subsystems. I try not to use terms from some specific application or methodology. So I generally don't want to have to explain what a bounded context is. I don't want to have to explain what an aggregate root is, or even entity, or any other ideas from other concepts. So I generally will refer to a row that represents a service or a subsystem as using those words, subsystems or services. And that doesn't confuse anyone. I don't have to explain much more, because I can have 3 or 4 swim lanes here, and most people understand that, okay, you have 3 or 4 subsystems, and, you know, if we want, we can have people look after those things and be much more aware about Conway's law, how these things have to communicate with one another, these services themselves, but also how the teams have to communicate with one another to coordinate the implementation of these 3 or 4 subsystems and how they work like that. And of course, the event model will show, you know, where you hand off information from one service to another and such other concerns. So yeah, hopefully that that makes sense. So again, like if you look at my LinkedIn posts, obviously I do testing. I like testing, but I want to show the resilience of an event source systems a system with an event model, that even if you delete these tests, that you so rarely go back to the old implementation. And I showed you one example here already where you're basically redoing the map reduce of another green box for your registration, right? So we just did this thing here where, you know, we have a display of our name of the conference here, but we didn't reuse the same thing that we did when we set the name, right? So when we set the name, we already have a state view here for the conference name, right? If I go look at the implementation, I have that name. And the reason, so this is another one for Mohammed. You know, why do I have this in one file? It's to show that all of these things kind of chronologically flow in this one giant app.js. So the things on the at the very beginning here, such as set name, you're going to find at the very beginning of the event model here, right? You're going to find naming, and set name is going to be here. And displaying this name is going to be here. So, you know, when I go into the implementation, I know that I'm, you know, near the top here, I'm going to be able to find what I'm looking for. So, yeah, I think so. The event model is definitely a living document, 100%. Like, I would say now, whether event storming has kind of evolved to have some of these things reused, especially after COVID, when event storming was really about the work. You know, the biggest thing I got out of event storming and Alberto's hard work in that space was that you shouldn't be shy to ask people to collaborate together. And and to have developers and people that are product owners and managers and whatever else, all these different roles, it's really responsible to ask to collaborate together in a transparent way and communicate together to work on a solution. And this workshop format is really, the biggest benefit of event storming. And of course, we incorporate that. So in a sense, event modeling does have that very collaborative spirit in it, but it doesn't just last a single day. We try to push that all the way through. That's why an event model should be the only thing that you're looking at, and that forces collaboration. Because if I have a wiki page and Jira and some other places where I'm storing other information about progress or anything else, that ends up getting back into the silos. Oh, that's the PM, he deals with Jira or whatever. Oh, that's the architect, he deals with the UML. Oh, that's the developer, he deals with the code. And oh, that's the tester, they only use these test cases. So you develop silos and you get broken telephone kind of problems where people are communicating, speaking over one another, not using the same language. You get delays. So by not using separate tools for everything, you kind of have everyone collaborating naturally. Because if I want to make a new feature, I have to change the event model. I add something, people see that I've changed it. There's some of these things that aren't done, and of course you're looking at what's done and what isn't with these, in this case, we're just making these rectangles green that it's finished, and yellow that it's in progress. I try to put the name of who's working on it, and of course all of this can be automated. And then of course something without a rectangle hasn't been done yet, right? So yeah, but yeah, definitely an event model is more like a living document. We certainly use them extensively to track work, and of course for billing we can, since we're using this multiple model approach of having a separate implementation for everything, and the coupling is really controlled well, we can find a very even kind of estimate for each piece of work. Because notice that for this, I didn't have to go in and edit. If I had some requirement, I didn't have to go in and read this code and change it. I might look at it to copy it just to get a jump start, but I'm not really touching this. And that's the beautiful thing about this multiple model approach, being able to show the multiple models via event modeling. So event modeling and event sourcing allows you to kind of have, I'm not going to blow up the scope of this because something happened with the naming piece and the screen. And so that's why I can confidently say that I can work out an average kind of effort per vertical slice, and then and the developers, the contractors, and the clients can kind of agree that, okay, we'll pay fixed costs for these things. And so it's the first time in my career that I found such a agreeable way to work from both sides, from the people that want the work done and the people that want to do the work, that they have a very good common ground of what the estimates really mean. So Sargath, thanks for the question. That's a really good one. But yeah, let's continue. I think we got this one working. So we showed that this thing actually does work now. So we have this. We didn't really test it fully. I mean, I could now integrate it with the rest. I think I might have broken some stuff here, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just worried about the piece of code that I deleted. I think. Anyway, it'll come out in the wash. That code's probably not supposed to be there. It's to do with other pieces of work. So I just want to make sure that I have this UI in this slice and this state view. So when I do a merge and I have a problem with anything else, I'm always going to take their side in the conflict resolution. So yeah, I think I want to just merge this in, because I think this. Let's just mark this as done, because we did see this. Thank you for registering. But oh, we didn't have the name, did we? I don't think we had the name. Let's go look at that again. Alt tab. Thank you. I'm not sure if there's a name in here. We don't have the name. We do have the that. So that's good. Register success, and say thank you. Oh, participant name. So we don't have participant name. I think we just named it incorrectly. Conference set. Okay, we're up here showing the other slice, but let's go back down here to where we are. See, I can quickly just see where I want to be in the event model to where I am in my implementation here very quickly, which is kind of nice. This is why I'm doing it this way. So the state view has conference ID registration. So it has set registration ID and event name. And that's under registrations. Okay. So we say that we have registrations. We get the registration not found. Participant name, registration name. Is that what we did here? Registration ID. Right, okay, so there's this one is not rendering this correctly. It's getting the conference names. Okay, this is bad. Because it's getting this conference, should have it from the registration state. So this is bad. Of this registration, that's doing exactly what I said not to do. It's looking at that state name. So we should be looking at registration state view SV. That's it. Conference name, right? That'll tell us whether we're actually doing that, because that was the coupling that I didn't want, right? I don't want this thing here in this part of the workflow. I'm getting something from here. I don't want it to be coupled to that. I want my own little world to live in here, and then, you know, the conference name is in here. I don't need to go somewhere else. So I'm glad I spotted that. And so now we can see if this works. Press rerun our application and then just redo this. It seems to be working, but we are not. Yeah, let's just see the structure of this thing. Because this registration doesn't have a name. And I'm wondering if it actually, the registered event, are we not looking at the same thing? We could also do a default just to see if we're not. And here we can just do a console log unknown event. And then we just want to JSON. And of course, we could do this console log with the warning info and all that. How do you represent workflows that can branch? Oh, yeah, so it depends what level of branching. Like if you have just branching for data, we have those in the given when thens below, which I showed you. Let's just go to the event model here to show you. Okay, so first level of branching, silly things. We already showed a few silly things. Participant registration failure, right? Registration is closed. We show it right here because this branching requires us to show what the screens will look like. So I might as well put it on the workflow here. But let's say this was a trading applications. Sargath has also asked the previous question, so I'll answer both questions. So in terms of branching, yeah, some of this is pretty easy. We can just work it into the workflow, right? So having a participant registration failure, which can occur, you know, organizer here has closed the conference. What are they going to see, right? Or another example that I always give is password, you know, password is incorrect. You need to show what that display is, and you might just have one extra step kind of worked in. So you show a failure, and then you show them logging in correctly. And you can show that essentially shows that branching. So you don't have to have something really doing that. So yeah, I mean, you want to keep the storyline going, and a story could include someone trying with the wrong password and then trying again with the correct one, and you see kind of how, that branch works by flattening it out over time. But when you have like a major issue, like let's say you're making a trading system for a large company, they have to acquire a lot of assets and stocks and bonds and whatever, but maybe there's something that happens in the market, there's a market crash, there's some news that's interrupted, like change the pricing very, very much, and it's kind of broken a threshold in how you do business. So now you need to like back out of all of this. So let's say all of this event modeling here was talking about how you buy more and more stocks, and then something happens. I usually put a big red arrow in the middle and say, over here we have a responsible place to branch to some other workflow if we have this major problem. Because in the stock market, when you're acquiring things, you can't just undo something you purchased, right? You're already you're done, left holding the bag. You can't ask for the other people to give you money back if you bought something wrong. So I would make a big kind of arrow, going from here all the way to here, and over here I could describe another set of workflow steps that say, okay, here we are in a workflow situation where we're backing out of our trade. So maybe we're limiting risk by closing some of the other stocks that might be affected also by this news, and we can gently get out of that for minimal loss. So that's kind of like the major branching that I have here. The other branching we already showed. We can have the different types of data, how the data affects the display of something. So a lot of the branching with respect to different types of data are here. We can also have a separate, I know I have two of these. What happened here? That. Here we can show 2 or 3 different other timelines, specifically when they have something to do with this part, like if you're at this point. So there's many ways to show branching in here, and you want to keep it to that. The really fine details are best filled in by common sense, because you can always over specify, and that's where you actually make more mistakes, because there's too much demands of over specifying. So this by showing stories of what happens generally, a happy path where you can show everything left to right. Maybe you have 1 break or 2 large breaks for when you want to back out of something. Then you fly over to a different area. But the most common ones are these given when thens and these given thens for showing the sort of detailed branches that you're probably interested in for a lot of these things. Yeah. So why is it, okay, so first of all, why is it not stacking parallel or independent workflows? So one of the reasons that this is primarily one workflow from left to right is to have a storyline. So the reason for that is people really get a lot more of the nature of a system by having a story to follow, and stories don't have branching. Right, so we try to be as explicit as possible, because you almost want to simulate sitting down with someone to show you examples of how the system's supposed to work, right? And you get this kind of idea. It's just kind of like a movie storyboard. You have all the scenes of what's going on here, and then down here you have the plot of what's going on in terms of the dialogue, and does the story make sense, and what character's saying what. So we do have some parallelism here. Like, I mean, we are getting into like, okay, what does the system operator see? Those are those things. This is a handoff from the organizers that are setting up the conference over to the participants that are, doing these things to participate. And then, of course, they suggest their topics, and then, of course, they continue on to, organizers then create the schedule and things like that. So you see that it's not really in parallel, but you show the same systems going at the same time. And like when you have concerns that are technical, like, oh, I want to make this parallel processing, I'm going to like fan this out to 12 nodes that are all going to work on something. The reality is that if you look and slow down time, those nodes are getting things done at not exactly the same amount of time. You pick one to be I mean, it could be impact mapping. You can certainly use this for value stream analysis and impact mapping. This format for using information flow as the backbone serves all of these other things. I wouldn't call it impact mapping, but you can certainly use an event model to do the job of an impact mapping exercise, 100%. A lot of times when we're not really, sure of something, like let's say there's a lot of questions about, how this processor works, we'll find that there's a ton of comments like plastered all over the place here, right? So you see the hotspots like you would have in event storming. The hotspots naturally emerge by the amount of comments you get in a certain section. So when you zoom out, you'll see like a cluster of comments, and then you can say, okay, well, we probably should spend some more time in there. There's a lot of discussion going on. We're not very clear about what we're doing. Let's go in there and maybe elaborate this. Maybe there's extra steps that need to be taken. Maybe we need to have better given when thens here because it's causing some confusion. You can start to do that. So it's kind of a natural way to. The same thing like if you were building a house and you have a blueprint and there's some problems with getting the tiles to fit in the kitchen. You'd probably like go together with everyone to that part of the blueprint for the house and start to check the measurements and check the measurements of the tiles and redo the calculations and consult with the carpenter, consult with all the others to kind of say, okay, how do we fix this and what are we going to do? Same idea here. So yeah. Sorry, Sargath. We also have another question from you here. I missed this one or got to address it, but it's a really good one, so I want to talk about it, and that is requirements change quickly. You update the code and model along the way. What about tests? Yeah, so we do change them, and the nice thing about the tests is that they exist to one slice always. So each test, we only have unit tests. If I want to measure some progress going like, oh, did we actually do all these things, I would make another green box that subscribes to all of the yellow boxes along the way, and then I can test that in a unit test. But that unit test is really doing an end-to-end test because it's listening to things all along the way. So that's kind of how we take care of that. So we really don't have acceptance tests and end-to-end tests, but what we have is unit tests of things that listen to lots of things, and it accomplishes the same thing, but it's doing it in a pure function sense. So all of these things really run quickly. And the testing here obviously is something like these timelines. So there's actually quite a neat convention here, is that this is the default view, and then we can test, okay, well, what does this look like when we have just one event, which is this one. So we use the previous rows to have the history as if you're doing arrange act assert, that's part of your arrange, or your given when, then that's your given. There's really no when in a passive thing. There's no action taken. So these can never fail. They're just projections of what the state is. So you'll notice that in the state view functions, there's a lot of try catches usually that report the error somewhere, maybe in another part of the graph. Like here's some of the errors we caught along the way, but here's the view anyway. You kind of you want to have these not failing all the time or ever really. So for example, the test that we have, oops, pardon me, jumping around here. Where do we go? Draw.io is kind of silly sometimes. Okay, so if we wanted to test this, our given would be all of these events. And then once we fed them to that function, we would expect the function to return a structure like this. It's very easy to do that. And so I'm kind of answering a question backwards. That's the test. So what happens when all of this changes a lot? So doing change management, and like if you don't have a mature idea and you want to do kind of a more fluid approach, which I'm kind of doing. I'm kind of doing this loosey-goosey. I'm backfilling something somewhere, but for the most part, these green boxes do mean that I'm finished. The thing that happens in a system that's not ready, in terms of all the ideas of how it's going to come together, you don't want to spend a whole year or a whole month making an event model. So you can do it a lot as you develop. Kind of let's make enough for the next sprint or two. And what these vertical slices become is they become the units of work that you charge for. If you're doing fixed cost, it's really good, because if someone totally decides that, hey, you know, we're gonna do this thank you screen totally differently, this registration, how we record registration is totally different. Even if they spent a part of this time, or even if they paid in full for this slice, but the implementation they now want is entirely different, they would get another slice and they would get charged for that whole slice. And if you're not doing, fixed cost work, this just works the same way on tracking hours of everyone, right? I expect each slice to take about 10 hours on average to be implemented, for at least the stack that we're using and all that. So if I wasn't doing fixed costs, I would expect most, average developers to do this in 10 hours. I would expect a senior person to do it in 3, and I would expect a junior to do it maybe, in a couple of days or 3 days. So you can adjust, what type of environment you're in for this, but it gives you a really good measure of how for how you're doing things. So, so what happens with the event model when you have a high amount of change because of a new product and you're doing exploratory stuff is it becomes a unit of exchange of value instead of a plan. But the nice thing is the things that become solid and continue to live on as you experiment with different parts, they now become the schematic of how you can understand and explain the parts that are solid to other people. Like, you're not going to touch these. So that it ends up becoming, the schematic, the blueprint for the thing that already is pretty mature in your organization. But you can keep experimenting in the new parts, right? And just understand that these vertical pieces are now your value of exchange, or at least for estimates. It's a little bit better than t-shirt sizing, right? We kind of know how many steps we're going to make. Yeah, so if there are, let's just see. Yeah, oh yeah, lots of comments, guys. Thanks for joining. I really like this discussion. So sort of AA approach. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing, this arranged act assert or given when then, it is really crystal clear. Like there is no, you don't have to spin up databases and get them to the right state. You don't have to use fakes or mocks. I mean, we use fake events, but they're really like literally the same structure and code as the real events getting stored on disk. So that makes it very easy to set that up. All of these green and blue boxes are pure functions, so they'll always have, for the same input, you have the same output. So if you're ever doing like an integration with an external system to find an interest rate or a stock price or the weather or whatever, you push that dependency out of the command handler or whatever, and you push that in as a value as a command. So all the tests don't have mocks ruining them and all that, right? Testing is very easy. I mean, in this application we wrote our own test. Well, I say we, but it was me that wrote it. It's very simple. Like, we even have our own asserts, and then run with exceptions with an expected error. And then, of course, the structure that I showed you in the given when then's an event model follows in here, because you don't, you kind of have to, you have to reduce the checkpoints along the timeline on those given when thens, so that you can build up your history as you go from one to the other. Remember, I showed you how the previous rows give you the history for your given for that particular row. That's what this does here. We have your given when thens. And of course, when they fail with the exception. So we have an exception and a then. And then, of course, you have your green box checks, which are just given then. So there's no action. We're just making sure that given some events, we end up at some state, right? And this checkpoint is providing you the actual command you're going to do, the expected event or the expected exception. And of course, you're not getting the individual checkpoint for the events. That is in the accumulator, right? So you start off with no events. That's the default view. And then as you go through the checkpoints, you push them on there. That builds up the history. Do you have specific domains that EM fits better than others? It fits, it should be the default for all information system automation. So it doesn't fit like some scientific stuff if you're going to be designing a search algorithm or something. But if you're automating a bank, if you're automating an insurance company, if you're writing the next Twitter, essentially, so it's really about something that shows information flow. Like if there's not a lot of information flow and you can't think of it as accounting for information instead of money, if you think of you know, being an accountant and seeing how much tax you have to pay or how your business is going, if you're profitable or not. They really need like the record of what happened, right? You can't use an eraser and change the numbers. That's illegal. So we want to have this same kind of discipline in programming. We want to say that, hey, I can sort of see everything that happened. I always have this ticker tape of things that happened, which gives us way more reassurance of how we got to a specific situation than just tests that have, you know, fake data in them and all that. Because a lot of people say, oh, unit tests are the best, is the best thing. It's like, absolutely not. The best thing you can have is a step-by-step account of what happened over time. Really, like with actual data, with actual users' data. So that's going to be that's something that saves you more than any unit test will. And also you can pinpoint them because, you know, you have the types, you understand where each type is kind of getting stored. In your exceptions, you can probably recognize, you know, where something is going wrong. So just by that, in a live system, you can very quickly zero in on, you know, a part of the system that's not working. If you're seeing errors, you can quickly go and triage the problem and solve it very quickly as well. So, but yeah, you know, it's a good question. You know, what domains? I think event modeling and event sourcing should be the default, and you should, because it's easy to fold these down into a single abstraction. Like I could easily reverse all this to kind of look at one table. Like for example, I could have a table for conferences and their names and just use it throughout the whole thing. But again, the problem that I said is it couples things. However, if that's what you want and you're fine with paying that penalty for having everything tied together, then you can easily change this design to say, okay, I'm not going to grab, where was it actually? That was a bad example. It was this one here, right? Where we, instead of having the conference name in here, we would have the other green box here, and we would have another green box for the registrations. And we just have a traditional model for a database, right? And then we could certainly not store these things on disk. We could just ignore them and go and just update the green boxes directly. But then we lose our record of account. It's still the simplest thing is always just to, you know, the minute that you're done with a screen is just to write down what you stored. Don't think about who's going to use it anywhere else. So I think event sourcing is still the simplest thing that you could possibly do, because you can not worry about the impact of what you did in this step here, aside your, you know, aside your kind of validation stuff. The simplest thing you can do is just write this down. Do I care how this thing here uses it, or how something else down here uses it? You know, we have, you know, we may have different cases for using it, but why would I front load myself with all those things that I haven't even looked at yet, or are not my concerns? So that's, you know, as you're implementing this, you go and look at, you know, your posts here. And if you go to a post, where's a post here? Simple one. Like, where's that registration? I guess we can look at the registration. Yeah, so if I have a form, the one thing that I really want to do is just to push the event onto to be a file, right, on disk. That's all I want. I do some validation, but after this, I'm just going, all right, well, if we hadn't thrown anything yet, let's just go into that confirmation, the congratulations page or welcome page or whatever it is. And that's it. I'm not really trying to check on, you know, how some other piece of functionality, you know, somewhere in here or here is going to be using that, right? You don't see that, and I don't even, when I get to this part, I don't want to go back to what's already working and have to change this. Right? This is in the history, like this is already done. The registration's done. I shouldn't have to go back to this code, say, and also like tinker with this or whatever. That's on the subscribe side of other things, right? Down the road. You've said that up to this point, this is what information was captured, right? We had captured that that this person with this with this name has what is this? Good. Rid of that. Like we just captured this information that that's why I highlight them in blue. This is what information is coming into the system, and really that is the fact that entered the system at the boundary, and that's it. Don't do any more. It's irresponsible to try and think of all the impacts of it later on. That's the other side of the diagram to worry about, and I think this is a healthy way of dealing with systems. So, I mean, yeah, I mean I've personally been doing only event sourcing since about 2009. And then our company has been doing that exclusively we're in our 10th year. So 9.5 years or so that we've only been doing things this way. And it works really well for every project that we've done. The fact that you have a history, a track record in these types of like streams of events being stored somewhere, it makes it very easy to get rid of some of the problems that you see in software development. One of the big ones is schema migrations. Like if I have a system that's changing, maybe I'll be asking for more information here. Like right now I'm just being asked for like Adam, right? Like for my name. But if I want my email in there and something else later on, I can show how that system changes over time. I can copy, this entire thing and say, here's another version of it, or I can just have, I can just change it directly, and I might want to show how it works with the old events, like maybe someone registered before we made that change and they don't have anything. Is it okay for null values to exist in those places? I can show that on this model, and so schema migration and all that kind of stuff is just it's child's play. It's a non-issue in here. Whereas I've seen traditional projects with schema migrations just absolutely destroying the company and morale and just the moving to a new version with a new schema is just a nightmare. And let alone with all the tests that you have to rewrite, especially like acceptance tests that spin up databases if they need horrible ideas in the industry, backed by solidified by tooling that makes it easier to do bad things. So anyway, there's a little bit of an opinion there, but yeah, so this is kind of, I hope that answers your questions as to the mentality behind this and like how to continue doing things like this. But I got a problem to solve, right? We don't have this working yet, right? We have we had some registration stuff, and I'm not we don't know what this registration looks like. Maybe we didn't actually do this properly. So we can did I actually, yeah, did I write that before? But I did. Where did I do it? Oh, here. We did an unknown event just to see if we have something that doesn't work. And then I'm also going to see what this is. So now that we have both of those things, we can do that. So let's run that and take a look at this. Oops, that's not found. Oh, that's still successful, but let's see what this looks like. And go back here. Registration found, John Smith. That's from our fake event. What's funny is that it's not actually hitting any of those other things. Registration found, JSON stringify, and it's just John Smith. Oh, registration. Oh, because it has that. Oh, state view. We want state view. Registration state view. Okay. Notice that it didn't say anything about this unknown event, so everything we did hit these things here. And that's fine. So let's see what the actual, we do this and see what we have. All right, so it has no registration. It has the conference name. Registrations and names. That's odd. Not what we have. Registration found. So that's odd. So it's not populating the registrations. So this registered event, see what that is. Why is that not? Are we actually getting that, right? Registered event. So registered event, we get that ID, registration. Yeah, but it's not adding it. Why is this registration still empty? So I can copy this. It might be able to tell us. Okay, it changes. What does it say here? Issues that map. Here's the JSON map is converted to JSON, it becomes empty object. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Kind of don't want to use a map, do I? I guess for performance you would. But let's see. I guess I could say whether the map is there. So when we have this here, registration found, date view, and then we'll say console log. I don't think it knows what did it do here. Oh, yeah, I thought that was wrong that it did this. Okay, so yeah, it has that registration ID. Registration. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I knew that was a problem. It looked bad. That's it. So it's not actually doing them correctly, but that should hopefully fix it. Oh, now it's not finding it. Interesting. And what do we have here? So we have registered event. It's doing that. But then it's not logging any of this. registration not found. So it's doing these. And registration ID. Okay, because that's just looking for it. In terms of setting it. Yeah, that's probably also the problem. That's probably going to do something like that. Yeah, that's probably what we need. Get rid of one thing and into the next. So let's go. Do that. Okay, thank you for registering, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but we still have a problem here. Because we have a registration. We do have that. It's doing the registration map. It's got this names thing, which we don't need. Why is the names thing here? Conferences, conference ID, event modeling spaces, registrations is that. Yeah. And so conference registrations, new map. Good. And registrations is registration that. And this is registered name. Okay. And then we can go here, and that's registered name. Okay, good. So did that fix it? Yeah, thank you, John Smith. Okay, perfect. So that works now. Very nice and nice, easy. Yeah, I knew that the stupid map was not using the square brackets, which I thought it was, but I get confused with what works in JavaScript and what doesn't. And actually, I'm disappointed in AI here for not picking up the fact that we're using a map and that we need to use this notation instead of these sets of gets. But yeah, now we can get rid of our little console logs. Yeah, we don't need those. Why is it trying to do set? What's it on? Crazy. Maybe that's not, maybe set's okay. Excuse me. Ooh. Made myself out of focus there. All right, so let's go on to the next one. By the way, if you do have questions and all that, I do like the interruptions to talk about stuff. So don't feel bad about interrupting me with a question. Happy as long as it's about event sourcing and event modeling, happy to answer it. All right, so I think we're done with this. Seems to work. Sure, let's see what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into. We got some fake events for the state view, which are better. Untracked files. Register success mustache. That's untracked, yes. We deleted that one. Yeah, that's good. And let's just add everything. Get status. We renamed one thing, which is, oh right, yeah, the name set event. We had it named wrong. Okay, so now we do git commit. Let's take a look at registration success. Works. We'll push that up, and then we'll just have to mark that here. My audio here quieter. Hey, let's take a look at merging it in. First of all, do our tests for the other tests that we have. They still work. Yes, they do. So this is our test runner if you were... Hey, there's no message brokers here. I don't have a message broker. It's just reading the files off a disk. This is like low code stuff. And in JavaScript, we I guess if I'm implementing this on another system, I would use an event store, like we used Event Store DB before, and that's the message broker in a sense, because everything that's stored in the event store automatically alerts and streams those events to any subscribers. So that's kind of how we use that. So it wouldn't really be in JavaScript, but I leave that for you to kind of experiment with your implementation. I do have some processors that I run for like the automation part. I can show you. Again, you saw the you saw where this is, right? So I just do a git push. Get remote. You can look at the code there. I mean, it's pretty simple. Oh yeah, how do they cooperate? So yeah, I certainly can have a regular database on the side listening to and some subscriber listening to events, and then updating rows and in tables in a traditional thing for sure. And that's kind of how they operate on business. So the events themselves are the source of truth, and the nice thing is that they're additive, and if you make a table that shows a certain type of structure based on the events that happened, and you make a mistake, you can delete that table, change your code, and rerun all the events again and make a new one. Now that can get expensive. That's why you should look at to make sure that your business data does have some cutoffs. Like, you know, for tax stuff, it's usually, you know, a year's worth of data. For trading, it's usually a day's worth of data, things like that. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do other languages as well. I think a lot of people, especially in the enterprise stuff, they either at least want TypeScript, they want C#, they want Java, you know, those types of languages. So maybe we'll do more in those in a bit. I did a .NET one here. So the other thing that I want to do, I was thinking about doing this just before starting the stream, that I want to have a Docker container for each technology. So some of those slices can be done in Java, some of them in .NET, some of them in another language, and then in there you have the event stream directory, like the events actually shared between all those Docker containers. So they can all work independently of one another, but they will still make sense together. No, they're not going to be, so Mohammed, they're not going to be big events. But you're going to have lots of events potentially. And this is where organizing your information to be in smaller chunks. So for example, you don't want to have to replay a whole, 3 years of data because your system has been, running for 3 years. You want to have logical cutoffs for, when you're going to start a new trading day or start a new, month for online banking or something, right? So you're going to have, can I do the Golang piece? And yeah, of course. Yeah, you can certainly do a Golang one. I like Golang. The nice thing about this approach is that you can take any language and any stack and say, hey, I saw how you implemented this thing that we're doing right now. It looks clumsy and ugly in JavaScript, or I don't know how to do it in JavaScript. I'm going to rewrite that function. You can see the signature of the function. It's very easy. You can see the data that I'm passing in as the input. So you can very easily say do that in Go and run that in a separate stack and have it work. So the interesting thing about getting all this to work together, if I implement, let's say this command handler here in JavaScript, and then I implement this in Golang, they're all looking at the same files in the same directory, right? I can have Nginx or something running in another Docker container, kind of saying, oh, you're looking for, you're doing a post, well, that goes to this Docker container, or you're doing a get, okay, that for this URL, you go to this stack, right? So you can do that very easily with this. You can see that each of these vertical slices can be served by a different technology. You can see that they're all tied together by these events. So it makes for a very good modular set of systems that you can develop this way, because you have a very, very clear indication of like your preconditions, what the system had before you start on your piece of work, and then what your responsibility is, if any, to leave something behind. In this case, we're just showing a view, so we really don't have much responsibility of passing anything new to the further steps. But this one certainly does, right? When you click register, you're leaving this registration record as another file here. So that's the precondition for some of these other things down the road. But yeah, go for it. Do the Golang stuff. We can just do a pull request and I can figure it out from there. But yeah, the implementation is pretty simple. I mean, it's one app JS, right? We have some views in like Mustache here which is just templates, right? Which you can find a Mustache thing in Golang, right? So you can even share the views if you want. But it's not necessary to do so. It might be a little bit harder to share some things like a menu item if you have like React in one, or we have Node Express in this one. Certainly some other complications, like if you want to pass control off to something that's a single page app with like what's it called, a back end for the front end type of thing. So you have a web project and you have an API project together. A lot of our solutions are like that. Most of them are actually, where we have a React front end project and then we have a back end project that does the business logic and yeah, talks to an event store behind the scenes. So for sure. So I was gonna commit this, but good questions. Keep them coming. Yeah, the once you start thinking about data this way, it's much more freeing. You have so much control of what you can do, and how you can work. You're really working with the tools helping you and outside of the constraints. All right. So that seemed to work. So let's do a git checkout of our dev branch and make sure that this still works with everything else, right? So we check this out, and then we do and then we do a git merge. No fast forward, and we want the state view. Of course, there's a conflict, so yep. Okay, let's take a look at what that is. So what do we have here? So here we have the end of the post, which we want to keep. Oh, is it getting two? Interesting. I'm a little confused here. Got a post, or is this register response, conference name, state view? Ah, that's part of this. You see, that's getting dragged in here. That's this part. And it's a little different. We had this before. So that's the current change, and the incoming change. A register success. That's all the stuff that we did just now, right? So do we actually want anything from this old one? This is a post. We do want the post. We don't have the post here, but then we'll have to. So I'm gonna accept both. But now I'm going to have to figure out this part, because here we have the render register conference name, whatever. And here we have this. Is it correct? Be correct. That's not correct. This is the better one. Okay, so this is where we had another one. So I like this one better, so we don't need this part. We have this 500. Something went wrong. Please try again. Turn. Okay, so that's not needed. That's exactly the same. And then we have this, which is identical again. Okay, so this is just more same functionality looked at. Okay, so that looks better. We still have some errors here. Okay, so we have a join conference. We have this default to get the registration, conference name. Then we have the post trying to actually register. And interesting. So this one isn't fully baked because this post should also have, yeah, this is the same thing. Post register and post register. This one is the proper one. This has the multiple return statuses. This is the old one here. And why is this one doing this fancy stuff? Conference name, render register. Yeah, this is from the getter, I believe. Conference name and conference ID. Yeah, so this is this one is the older one, so this whole thing doesn't belong. Because that's the correct implementation here. That one. Okay. And then the success is what we worked on here. Okay, and did we have fake events and all that other stuff? I guess since we're in the dev branch, we could just make sure there is oh, we got more discussions. Let's see what people are asking. I had to build a RAG app that can chat in context of YouTube transcripts. So yeah, it's again, if you want to try event modeling, think about what you would do to explain your system to someone else. Sit down on the computer, think of what things they would show. So when you're doing this like chatbot stuff, which I think what you're gonna do, have its own slice and event model diagram. Maybe. I mean, it really depends how you organize your information flow, right? At least, you know, you already are, I think, Mohammed, you were talking about having the mock-ups there. So I think you should start with the mock-ups to kind of draw the story of how things go, and then start to look at the information exchange underneath. Start to add the blue boxes where you're capturing new information. Start to use the green boxes to show maybe, you know, the current response or something like that. I don't know. Hi, Tanner. Multiple interactions between Windows. I appreciate your support, Tanner. So yeah, hopefully I can get going through a lot of stuff lately. So hopefully I'm gonna get more of regular schedule going. I think we got the podcast kind of recorded on Sundays and kind of out by Wednesday. At least Wednesday morning, trying to get them out on the same day if my Sunday is not too busy. But yeah, I'm going to try and do some more of these on a more regular basis. They're all over the place. Sometimes they're in the evening, sometimes they're in the morning or afternoon Pacific time. But yeah, we'll try to do something more regular. I don't know. I guess some people like that to watch things live. I'm going to certainly try to do maybe Saturday mornings or something. I don't know. But and if I do go live, I think I'm gonna try to maybe do a few long streams a couple of times a week, but then make sure I have like an hour stream more or less almost daily, at least during the week. So we'll see how that goes. I'm glad you're enjoying my struggle through code. A lot easier with AI to help out sometimes. So yeah. Let's see. Let's make sure that this whole, so we've covered up this whole thing not working properly. Let's start with empty stream. So I'm gonna just remove things from the event stream. I'm just gonna try and run this from beginning to end, just to make sure I catch something that might have been missed somewhere else. So yeah, Mohammed, no problem. As long as it's, you know, I don't want to be answering kind of like the regular stuff out there. Oh no. Great, we have spammers. This is actually pretty good that we only got one now. And I get rid of this. Thought there was a thing to get rid of it. How do I get rid of it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, good. It's gone from the stream at least. Now I gotta just get rid of it from Twitch. It's annoying. No shortage of spammers, eh? Where's Twitch? Twitch. I'm trying to do this from like my phone because sometimes it's just easier. I don't want to interrupt. Like, I don't have a separate rig for streaming. It's all just coming off of one laptop. It's a Kubuntu Focus laptop, which is awesome. It's got a 4090 GPU in there too. It's pretty cool. Doing a lot of heavy lifting. But let's just see. Is this? Oh, this is okay. Good. So I have this stream here. No, there it is. I found the garbage person ban user reason. Bam. Ban. Message deleted. Okay, good. Excellent. No, something's always constant, eh? Spammers everywhere. All right, so let's run this guy. I want to remove those first, so do that. So one thing that I don't like about VS Code or the forks of it is that they grab too much of the keys, like the keystrokes. So if I want to do some shortcuts in a terminal, I really can't. So I think it's a shift right. Oh no, I can. They must have fixed this. Shift right was getting captured by the IDE, and I couldn't select parts of my history match on the command line. But now it is working again. Maybe the cursor AI people fixed it. Maybe more people are using fish shell. Maybe more fish shell people complained. Who knows? Anyway. Okay, fake events we don't need to look at. We now notice we don't have our events directory, but when we run it, it gets recreated. So node run. And we have an error. Oh, we still have a conflict? Where? Oh. We still have this. Oh, what the heck? Incoming changes that. Okay, I kind of don't want that. I want all this. Because that, we don't want to drop anything. Accept current change. Yeah, these are tests for the other thing. I should have run the tests, so that would have showed me whether it's working or not. Okay. Let's run the tests. That looks good. Yeah, all of them are passing, and we have a total of 33. Yeah, that's what we have. Good. Okay, so we got rid of that problem with Twitch. I'll just continue monitoring on here. And restream. Okay. We also have this. Block. No, cancel. Not block this person. We don't want to block restream, but we want to delete that message. Why can't I delete that message? Oh, so annoying. Live chat. Oh, I see, because I'm not going from the studio. Oh, well. Log into my other account. So unfortunately, YouTube comments are going to have that. The current stream's going to have that stuff there. All right, let's see. So we got all that working. And so now we should be able to run it without the tests. And we should start from the beginning. Another nice thing about adding the routes in order as they appear on the event model is that you get them in that same order here when you list them. And for those that don't know JavaScript, that is here where we do this thing. I didn't write this. Obviously, this was AI generated, but it grabs all of the links for us so that when we run the app, we can jump to whatever page we want very quickly. Just kind of neat. I did it manually before by having just a little directive here, but of course, JavaScript's kind of cool that it allows you to see everything and add anything to everything. So yeah, so that worked out well. Let's go to the set name. That's going to go somewhere else, isn't it? Oh, yes, it is. Back, and let's go back to the browser we're supposed to be on. Is this one here. And go to set name. Nope, I didn't click on it. Try it again. That. Go here. Click on that. Okay, that's the last one. Now if I go set name, it'll go here. Perfect. Get rid of these ones. And so we can say, and of course our event stream is here. So we should be able to see these things happen as we use the system. You can say, what do you want to call your open spaces? Let's say event modeling unconference. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. Continue. Notice the little event getting stored. It's very satisfying to see that, by the way. Just to see more events added as you use more and more things. So continue to dates. There we go. So again, the UI I have to change. There's a little button here you can't see, but I can do it that way. So there we go, and I can set the dates. Dates are set. Congratulations. Dates, blah, blah, blah. Okay, continue. Add some rooms. Okay, let's just do this as we did before. Add, certainly could do more functionality here, like deleting rooms and renaming them, but whatever. And one thing that I want to show is kind of like how to group all of this into like 1 or 2 pages instead of like 5 that we have. So yeah, let's add that and continue. And time slots, yeah, we want to, again, time slots is kind of a weird button here to choose that. So let's just do 9 a.m. Let's do 2 time slots. So 10 a.m. oops, 10 a.m. And it's going to be the intro, or just session 1. I don't know if we really need names for the time slots. I'm guessing it could be optional. You could say lunch or something for a time slot so people know to break for lunch. So let's add that. That's one of them. And then we'll do another here for and I guess and 10 after 10. So you have a break between. And so this will finish at 11 and 11:10, obviously. 11:10. There we go. Session 2. Session 2. And we add that. Notice that these events are constantly getting updated here, adding them bit by bit. And we're done. Okay, we're going to have 2 sessions only. We'll continue. And now we're ready to create the conference URL and QR code. So the minute that we hit this, we have this. And this is interesting because I think here, again, I have way too much debug stuff I have to get out. So yeah, conf ID request, providing the system with a new conference ID. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. And that was our little illustration of automation in this system. So now we have, okay, so we can pretend we're at the conference, and this is what the organizer showed us. So we can grab this URL, copy it, and then this is the tab for the participant. Go here. It says, welcome to Event Modeling Unconference. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, my name is Adam, and I want to register. Okay, thank you for registering at, oh, we have a problem. Not named event yet. So I think we have an issue with the named conference named event. So we have this conf name set, but then we have our implementation of our registration not looking at that properly. So take a look. Registration's closed. Register ID post. Register success. So, oh, we still have all of this stuff. Yuck. And we have a names thing here. What is this? Conference ID. And that is bad, not named yet. So it's going to this. Oh, I see. We're not supposed to do that. So we do it backwards, right? We first set up everything like the name, etc. And then once we're ready, we then, so this actually happens as the last thing. Right, so we shouldn't be doing this. It's actually overwriting what the name, what that is. And what is names? Did we take the, this is a map. We don't need a map. It's just a name. Conference name. Yes, something weird here. Conference. So, okay, I don't want to fix this here. This is still something not working in our system. So we have to find, yeah, let's just fix this in our branch. So we have both modified this. I kind of don't like throwing away all the other resolutions, but that's okay. We know kind of how it'll do that. So get merge port, get checkout, and we go back to the previous one that we're on, which is our feature branch. And let's take a look at that. So we definitely have this conference ID generated is what opens the conference. So we don't reset that. That is bad. that the registrations is what gets reset. So registrations is a new map. That's what it is, not names. So yeah, we weren't quite finished with this. We have the stupid set thing, which we don't want. Why is it insisting on set? Why does it not like this square brackets notation? So that's good. So registrations can only start once the conference ID is generated. That is correct. The conference name can start here. I think we do need to, yeah, actually we don't, we can just keep overwriting it, right? And here's where we can say, not named yet, just in case we have that. So I think this should be okay. I want to do the fake events again from the registration. And then I want to run this. First of all, let's just make sure tests still run. Good, they all passed. Let's just run the app and then go to the success. Of course, it's going to say registration not found because we're not using the registration ID that we stored here. And so when we do, we should find, thank you, John Smith, blah, blah, blah. Now, in terms of the fake events, do we need to have them in a different order to show the same thing, or is this good enough? So fake events register, state view register. Why are these deleted? Why are they? I think that's just some weird caching with Visual Studio. Okay, so yeah, we don't have them in this order. So this was a bad idea asking AI to do this. This is actually the other way around. So this we will rename. This is actually the 0, 1 event, and this is the 0, 0 event. Rename. So we had a problem with the ordering of this. Oops. Because what happens first is you set the name, as you saw in the event model. Again, the event model is the thing that tells you what is supposed to happen. If we look at it here, we notice that we have the name being set first, and then we do the conference ID, right, where we have this this ID being generated later on. So that's all we should have, and now we should, yeah, we should see what we need to see. So with that change, this looks good. I'm wondering why this error didn't show up here. Oh, it didn't show up here because we never tested it with that out of order thing. So okay, that's fine. That makes sense. All right, let's carry on then and redo that conflict resolution. It shouldn't be too bad. We figured out what was going on there. That's the other thing, is with these types of solutions, conflict resolutions aren't hard. Another reason why I want to work this way is I'm not swimming in a conflict resolution for a whole afternoon. It's that's one of the best things. And I don't have to do feature toggles or anything else like that. I don't have to ship code that's not finished to production. I can do it properly here. So git status, yeah, we got these fake events that are done. We delete those, we modify that a little bit. Sure. So git add all, and then git diff. We'll see that we have, oops, diff staged. We'll see that we have proper stuff in here. So yeah, we get rid of that. We don't get rid of the name. We just keep renaming things as we need. And we only put this in here. And we don't use names, we use registrations, which is perfect. But we had that problem before. And of course, we just renamed those things. So that's good. So the fake events are reordered to be correctly used now. And so git commit fixed fake event ordering and accumulator correctly. Okay, so so I can push that up. I can check out our previous branch. I can do a with merge of what we did before. Looks good, and of course we're going to come down to our conflict. And so let's make some room for resolving that conflict that we had before. And that's our event model and the conflict in here. Okay, so did we accept both and just, or can we chuck this one? This register ID here, post. This is the get, but we already have the post here. So I think we just accept the incoming. This has the 500, but it doesn't have the, so it's almost like it's, okay, this has the 422 and this has the 422 as well. So we don't want this one. Okay, I don't know why this, is it something that I brought in by mistake in my branch? Maybe. Oh, hey, good to see you, Mohammed. See you next time. Hopefully you can finish the stream later if you're interested. But hopefully there'll be a lot more working when you come back. Thank you again. Good to see you. Accepted incoming change, current change. Yeah, we want the incoming change. I think it's got that, the 500. And the 422 is here. The 422 and the 500 in here. We don't want that. Our redirection is fine this way. The previous stuff here is good, and that's what's getting dragged in here. So yeah, we just accept the incoming. And then we had also a whole bunch here where we want to have the current change. So we probably want this test. Yeah, so we want current. I don't understand why we, oh no, registration, state change. Why is that there? Oh, that's probably from the previous slice being merged in. So we'll accept the current change. That should give us everything we need here. Don't think there's any errors. Let's just double check what we merged in at the top. I'm kind of more pessimistic about this, but it has the get and it's got the post. Doing that correctly. But then it's got the success, which is the thing we've been working on. So that looks good. I don't like these logs. We'll get rid of them. Should have got rid of them. But that's fine for now. And yeah, let's give it a whirl. Give it a whirl. So node app tests all passing. Let's get rid of the event stream. Let's run this whole thing. And so running here. Okay, let's try again. My unconference. Good. That name. Sure. Let's do this thing again for dates. And let's just double check that our stream is coming in here. Yeah, so we just named the event, right? Yeah, the other thing I want to do is really update the way we store events to really provide that that optional information in the file name, because when I look at the file name, I kind of want to know what the name was set to. So it's kind of like a little cheating way of dealing with event source systems, is putting some of the data into the actual file names. So just on hover over and just by looking at directory listing, you know what's going on. I think it's really helpful and useful. A real fun way of working. Okay, let's just set the dates to be that. Continue, add some rooms. Oops, I got a blank room. I guess I could add some more error handling there to do that, but good to know. Again, let's get a couple of sessions going. Do that here, and another session finishes at right on top of the hour, I guess. I should really limit these. I don't know if this control limits this to be every five minutes. That would be really good. So session 1, or let's just do, yeah, slot 1, add 2. Let's do 10:05 to 11:05. Good enough, and we'll call that slot 2. And we're done with that. And we noticed that the time slots got added. Again, no data in their names, which I should change. Okay, let's create the conference URL. Good. That's awesome. That works. And then make sure we can go to that. And yeah, there's welcome to my conference. That's Adam D. Register. Thank you, Adam D, for registering at my unconference. Yes, and it goes to the sessions, which is the next slice, which we haven't done yet, which is great. So that's good. So I think we've done that properly. Now, given that, I think there's a bit of confusion whether this work was part of the state view or the state change, but that's okay. Let's break this. It seems to... So we have all of these things, all the new stuff. We can add everything because we fixed everything and it all works. And then we can do git merge, continue. And that's good enough for that. Git push. So we have that. That works in dev now. Let's just go to QA. That's going to be our release candidate. This is a fixed, finished feature, quote unquote. So we'll do the same thing there. So git checkout, the QA, and then git merge, and then go. Oops, I don't want that. Control escape merge. State view. Yeah, we merge that to here. Oh, weird. Interesting. Automatic merge failed. So we still have to, okay. I think we did this in a different order. I was expecting this to have a fix sorry, a resolution that was recorded from the last one, but the code was slightly different. Again, this is a reason why you want to have multiple source code files instead of dumping everything into one, unless you're very, very careful, because you're going to have fewer recorded resolutions or for your conflict resolutions. You're not going to have as many recordings to help you through them like I'm dealing with right now. So let's fix these. Why is there no conflict resolution here? What is the conflict? This seems to be okay. What's the problem? Staged use. Oh, it did. No, it did use it. Yeah, I hate that feedback that it gives. It's such a weird order. Automatic merge failed. Yes, it did fail, but it was resolved with the recording. Very annoying. Okay, so there's nothing to do here except just to test things whether they still work. And that seems to be fine. And then I don't want to go through everything. I'm just going to go to this ID because we are in the same thing, and refresh this. This should rerun everything, and it is. And even here we still see to have that stuff we want it to not be in the output. It is still in the output. Why is it going to the top? Right, we definitely want this out, but at least it shows us what we haven't. What was it talking about the maps not being serialized? It serializes maps just fine. Okay, more code to get rid of. But that seems to be good. So we have everything in there. So we can do git merge continue, and we're good with that. We can push that up. Good. And now we can look at this. Our diagram here, and I think this is now done. So we can just double click on this. Open this up a bit. Where's my layers? Layers. Which layer am I on? I hope I didn't add anything on the wrong layer. We are on progress. Oh God, did I add anything on there? Anything disappears. Event model. No progress. All the lines disappearing. Okay, I'm always paranoid about that. So let's update the progress. I don't know if this is done. Close registration. It's not done. Okay, so we should be able to close registration. We're on the progress here. It's locked. That's why. Okay, I do like locking them. Because then I can work with the actual event model and see what's going on, but not move these other rectangles around. So that's good. And then of course we have that ugliness factor of doing the green. Oh, pardon me. Okay. So this style is done for green. Apply. Text as well. Pardon me. Okay, so that's nice and green for done. Now we hop over to this one. Yeah, that's it. No tests. We didn't bother with tests for this, so let's continue on. I can now check in the update to this diagram, and we'll continue on going forward here. So we do that by doing cd that, and I should really make this into a little command. Finished with registration success page. Okay. That's good. So that'll give you the latest diagram. in source code. So if you want to go to GitHub here, you can find that latest commit will give you this latest Vim model. So on to the next one. So here we need to do this registration close. And how do we end up there? Okay, so we have this close registration button that is just on this page. So we just have a post for the current page. So this will be conference. Yeah, I think we have a, what do we call this page? So this is register. What do we call this one? Conference something. Let's take a look. So we can quickly go to where we were because we have that handoff happening somewhere around here. Register get, yeah. So join conference, okay. Probably a bad name for that URL, but that's okay. Let's just see if our, okay, so what happens after we close it? So we have a congratulations page. You've closed the conference. Or should we just put them to the current sessions thing? I think there's a current sessions. This is going to be interesting because for the first time we're going to be seeing submissions being added for the talks. There's going to be voting. There's going to be schedule creation, which is going to not be available to people that are registered. So it's almost as if we are because the problem is someone can go back here, and if they know the URL for the conference, a participant can go here and start to do this. But we don't have to worry about that until we get to this. So let's cross that bridge when we get to it. So we have a conference ID, and then probably what we're going to have to do is create an admin ID. And that admin ID is going to get pushed to the URLs of the organizers. So none of the participants will know what that ID is. It's going to be funny if they try to display anything on the screen because it's going to be in the URL. So maybe that's one place where we don't embed it in the URL and we just keep passing that as a post for anything to do, or a cookie, probably cookies, something like that. It's essentially a token of that. So anyway, not sure how long I've been streaming for here. It's been probably a long time. What are we at here? Almost 3 hours. Okay, well, I think we might want to call it quits here. No, I think I'll do one more slice. Let's just close the registration because, you know, we didn't do one more thing here. And yeah, let's do the closing registration. And that'll get us to a good spot because then we get to the fun stuff of actually simulating, you know, participants going in and suggesting their topics. So this will be our join conference post, which is going to really close the registration. Okay. So let's do that. I gotta close the curtains here. Dark out. Second. All right. All right, so what do we have here? Close registration. Do we even have that in the way things look right now? Again. Oh yeah, it does have a closed registration, which doesn't do anything. Okay, cool. So that's in progress, and just see what our branches are. And we got join conference node and its state view. So we just do state change of this one. So now we do get checkout branch. And we actually want this, except it's a state change. No, that's not. It's join the state view join. Yeah, join comment, but this is now state change. And we started from the same thing, the start tag. So we want that. And then do we actually have what state are we in? So that's all changed. Oh, look at that. Look at what stubble was for. It's for mustache, I think, for something weird. But anyway, it's funny. And oh no, that's CS. Okay, so we're ignoring the .NET application, and I'm wondering why that's an issue here, but whatever. I got distracted by the .NET stuff. We have it in here just for fun. All right, so we have our view for join conference, and we have this button. Where's the button? Close registration. Okay, so we have the... I don't want a close registration. Why is it in here? This is bad. Why did that sneak in there? Let's get it out of there. We have this button and we need a form around it. I think it was just thinking, okay, we're doing some JavaScript, so we're gonna have we're gonna handle button clicks in there, but I actually just want to submit. And no, I don't want this. I mean, I could, but it's just not the same thing. I don't need that to be a whole form. I just want it to be around button. Form action close registration. I guess it could be close registration. I don't need to go to the same page for a post. That's good. And because we have one conference going on at once, we don't need to worry about IDs and any of that. It can just do that. So it's actually going to be pretty easy to do this. So let's look at that now. and join conference. And then I do want to put it in chronologically because here we have the join conference. Oh yeah, actually does go here, which is nice. So app, close registration. Oh, it knows what I'm doing. Awesome. Okay, so close registration. It should now go also to sessions. Is the other one. But here it should do a state change. There's not going to be much validation, but I do want to do a state change function and have the event. Sure. That's good. And that close registration, state change, get events. Okay, beautiful. So it knows exactly what to do, but it doesn't know that we need to try catch these things. So we need to let, that's what we need to do. And here we need to do a try. Yeah. And it's a 422. And here we try push the event, and that's a 500. Exactly. The 500, we console log, something went wrong. Yes, we keep this unknown. Don't push any internals out. Here it's a business reason, which is fine. And we do that. Okay, so that's correct. So now we can just do the function. See, the thing actually writes itself, right? Function close registration. Perfect. Return type. Yeah, there's no validation because we'll assume that you just want, yeah, you just want the registration close button to be hit as many times as people want it to be hit. It's the organizers that can screw it up if they want. So let's just keep it dumb like this. And then yeah, we return that. Whatever timestamp is that. Cool. It has no data because we don't have multiple conferences going at once. For now, that's good. We'll slowly introduce multi-tenancy and multi-conference per organizer later. That'll just be more filtering or more IDs in there, but shouldn't be. We could still allow the same kind of stuff for them to hit the button multiple times. We just don't want them to adversely affect each other. Okay. So that's that. And so that's pretty much it for that. However, let's just double check our implementation. So that's just going to store this, which is okay. But we need to test this with this guy. So on here, I want some fake events that will give us a possibility to test, you know, the fact that it's closed. Here we have one of those. Good. Okay. Enough out of the way. Yeah. All right. Well, actually, it's I gotta get dinner going. getting pretty late. So I will probably come back tomorrow morning and finish this, or maybe later on tonight, depending on how I feel. Anyway, thank you for joining me. It has actually been 3 hours, so my voice probably needs a little break as well. And I need to get some food because I am getting hungry. So thanks for this. I will commit this branch, I guess, just for fun as a work in progress in case you want to see how the code changed. Oops. Yeah. Just add it all and just call it work in progress. So whip. I didn't even run it, so whatever. I just want you guys to see the code that I'm working with, and if you want to check it out. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you either later tonight or sometime tomorrow. All right. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me.